Good morning, everybody. This is Robert People, loverobertpeople.com, and you're listening to People's Court. Thank you for tuning in. Today is Wednesday, January 29th, 2020, and what I want to talk about today is negativity. And this is a touchy subject for a lot of people for one reason or another, but here's the thing about this. There's so many different places I can go with this. And I'm going to try not to make this too long. But negativity runs the lives of so many people. Negativity is just beyond. It's all some people know. And this is not meant to judge anyone for that. But we live in this world. We live in a world, in a society, where negativity is viewed as real, being real. Negativity is viewed as the truth. Whenever we say anything about truth, about being real, about whatever, it's always connected to something negative. We don't like rich people because, only the poor understand this. We don't like people who are well off, even if you're not rich, you're well off or whatever the case, because only poor people can understand what it's like to live every day. Not that poor folks cannot become rich eventually, which has happened many, many times, and they still understand how it is. They're just not there anymore. How many of us have that friend who is the beacon of truth for everyone? That this person hates everybody, who sugarcoats everything, and they're the first person they'll tell you so quickly, I'm brutally honest. I don't sugarcoat anything and all this and that. And if you don't have a friend who does that, that might be you. You might be that friend. It's like that's where the line of truth goes, negativity. I'm going to be the one to tell you all the bad things about yourself that you need to hear. I'm going to be the one to let you know everything that's wrong with you. And I'm going to say that's helping you. I'm not talking about being naive. There's a difference. There is a difference. Negativity drags you down. Period. It drags you down. And when I look and how often some folks are negative, and then I look at where their lives are, there's no wonder, and it baffles me sometimes how that connection's not made. How many times have you been to an establishment, a restaurant, a supermarket, or what have you? Made a purchase online, did a tour, went on a cruise, anything, any type of event that you experienced. Everything went fine. Everything went great. I mean, it's like, okay, whatever, cool. Everything went okay. But the minute something goes wrong, you had that one, you go to any one of these places and something goes wrong, and you will go out of your way to find a way to leave a negative review for that establishment or for that event. A lot of people are that way. I've gotten to where sometimes I've gotten to this point where I understand you have to be careful sometimes when seeing negative reviews about something, because in some cases, that's all people will post. That's the only time anybody will say anything is to be negative. They won't post anything to say that, and if it's a restaurant, that the service was good, or an event, the event was wonderful. No, they'll post only when something goes wrong. I remember some years ago, we were debating whether my ex-wife and I were debating whether to go to a particular restaurant up north, and we looked at the reviews. We hadn't been to that place before, and we looked at the reviews, and there were your typical stuff. This wasn't done, that wasn't done, whatever. But one that we found very interesting was that somebody they must have really had their heart set on coffee creamer, because they did not get Everything else went fine, but the fact that coffee creamer was not at the table or wasn't brought or not the right amount was brought there, I can't even remember how this was. But this person was obsessed, or really had everything put on the fact that they wanted that coffee creamer, and that it was a long review, and that's mainly the part they talked about. Service was fine. Everything else was good, just that coffee creamer was it. People will find reasons to complain. Okay, and it's not to say that complaints are not legitimate, but when we focus on that, when that's the only place you know how to go, that's a problem, and that will cripple you. And one thing we don't understand also is that this type of thing tires you out. It's exhausting. Have you ever noticed that when you wake up in the morning and you start seeing things that bother you, and you sometimes immediately get tired? That's why. So many people out there, you get tired and you don't understand why. It's because of what's around you. It's because of what you associate with. There are people on social media, and that's the only thing you do. You post about negativity. You talk about things negatively. I'm not talking about once in a while valid complaints, legitimate complaints saying, oh, let's talk about this. I'm talking about that's all they do. That is all you see from them. It drags you down. It takes so much from you. And it's sad to me that people don't understand that. They don't understand why you're tired. And I'm not talking about clinical depression. Don't come on anybody and say, oh, well, clinical depression is different. I'm not talking about clinical depression. Clinical depression is an entirely different story. Clinical depression means you can be around anybody and you're still going to feel the same way. And there's something deeper in you that's wrong. Or that isn't, that's a little bit off. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being tired from depression. I'm not talking about being tired because because you have a chronic illness of some kind. And speaking of which, a Facebook friend, that's what she said as well to me, because there was, she's someone who suffers from a chronic illness. I didn't get into details about that, but she suffered from that. And the post was sometime, I'm going to say last week or a few weeks ago. And it was something to the effect of, the post that was put up is something to the effect of, when I look at where my friends are, okay, and basically friends being, more successful in certain ways than she is, she feels a type of way about it. Now, this was a shared post or copied, whatever it came from, but that was the nature of it. And for starters, you shouldn't feel bad because someone else is where they are and you're not where you would like to be or whatever. Especially if you have a chronic illness. That's obviously going to hinder you in some ways. However, friends came onto this post, friends who are not suffering chronic illnesses, friends who don't have anything to stop or to slow them down, and they immediately mock people who are successful or who are doing more with their lives. And this friend laughed at it. Now, I commented, of course, to say, well, we don't need to look down at people who are being successful. People who are successful, your friends who are doing things, they're not rubbing and throwing it in your face. They're just living their own lives. And in many cases, minding their own business. Now, the friend came back and said, I don't have a problem with that. Well, of course you do. If the friend is, if that other friend is, makes this mocking, comment and you laugh about it, apparently there's something to it. There's some connection there. We don't need to look and drag others down because we are down. Misery loves company. We know that. You've never heard that expression before. It means if a person's miserable, they want as many miserable people around them as possible. And if they can't find people who are already miserable, they will try to make you miserable. I had that talk with my daughter this morning. Because some of the kids here act a little, like kids at the bus stop. Or on the bus, not at the bus stop, not while any adults are there, of course. And I said, when people say things about you, it's because they're not happy with themselves. I've been telling her that. They're not happy with themselves, and that's the only reason they can say anything. But anyway, we focus so fiercely on negativity. And once again, there's this stigma about positivity. Like, those who are positive, like, we're naive. Naive. We think life is all about sunshine and rainbows. Give it a rest. People who are positive are not doing that. That's why it's called positive. It's called positive because of the fact that we understand life's going to give you a whole lot of stuff. Right? And it's up to you how you decide to handle it, how you decide to deal with it. No, I don't have it down to a science yet, but I don't have to jump off a bridge either to get it. Things are going to bring you down. You still have to make that decision to say, I'm going to go this way instead of that way. That's another thing. We don't always need somebody else to do it before we do it. We can make these decisions for ourselves. We can do these things for ourselves. You ever notice when, and back to about misery loving company. Have you ever noticed, and I know a lot of you have been in this place before, where you have that friend who seems to always be around when something is going badly for you, or when you're having a hard time with something, but when you are okay or doing well, they're nowhere to be found? Have you noticed that? That's a misery loves company incident. Let me give you an example. And ladies, I know you've probably dealt with this more than anyone else, so let's say you are someone who is overweight or was overweight at one time. And I've seen this too many times, so I'm going off of what I've heard. And you're overweight, and you decide to get in to be friendly with certain people. You decide to, you want those friends, so you put yourself down. You're the comic relief of the group. You put yourself down because of your weight. You make all these overweight jokes and things like that. The friends love you, ha ha ha. That's how everybody gets tight, right? I personally don't agree with people who do it, who put themselves down just to make others laugh, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, that's what it becomes. Everybody in the group, they have a certain role. Yeah, we can all say you can say, well, we're all sisters and we're all tight and all this and that, but everybody has a specific role. There are unofficial roles for everybody in that group, whether it's admitted or not. You got the one who's, you got the quote unquote the smart one, you got the popular one, you got the funny one. That almost always happens. You might not point it out and say, okay, this is you to you, but that's how it happens. But anyway, let's say one day you decide to say, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of these, making all these fat jokes. I'm tired of people poking fun at me. I'm tired of being the one that everybody in the group laughs at. So you decide to lose weight. You decide to lose weight. And your friends aren't as happy with you as they used to be. They're not as kind with you. Rather than saying, oh, you want to lose weight? You know what? Yeah, that is unhealthy and that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Hey, you girl, you want us to come to the gym with you? You want us to, walk with you, whatever it is. Let's exercise. Let's go do this. Rather than doing that, they kind of, oh, she thinks she's too good for us now. Way too many times I've seen this. They're okay with you as long as you maintain that negative image that they've gotten used to. But when you want to change that, now something's wrong with you. And it doesn't have to be about just being overweight. There are a lot of instances of that. You can put that in almost any other situation when someone decides they want to go back to school. They're in their 30s, 40s, whatever. I want to go back to school now. Now you kind of looked at like, why? Why do you want to go back to school? Why not? We live in such a negative world. I've never been able to accomplish anything by saying I can't do it. That's the bottom line. I've never been able to do that. Because when I say, because in my mind, if I can't do it, I'm not going to try. So nothing has ever happened by me saying I can't. At some point, you got to say you can. But we have to understand how negativity runs our lives sometimes. Very often, actually. And again, negativity is not a complaint, not legitimate complaints, not valid complaints. When people do specific things. Just that deep-seated, almost every aspect of the day, almost every second of the day, posting everything you post, everything, damn near everything, has a negative tone to it. How is doing all that going to make you feel? It becomes exhausting. Especially if you are one of those who does it early in the morning. First thing in the morning. I will say this again. I've repeated this before, but I'll say this again. Your thoughts, the first thoughts you have in the morning will tend to drive the rest of your day. First thoughts will drive the rest of your day. If you do not believe that, then I want you to try something tonight. If you don't believe that your first thoughts will have an impact on your day, try this. If you've already tried it before, you know what I'm talking about. But try this. Tell yourself tomorrow morning, that you're going to wake up and think of the most ridiculous, stupidest song you can possibly imagine. One that you've heard of course, but let's do that. And if you don't think you'll remember, write it down. Write it down. And as soon as you wake up, don't go to social media, don't do anything. Start humming that song. Hum that song a few times. And watch how long that song sticks in your head, or how easily it stays with you. One day I thought I was being funny just to myself, and I said, let me just try this. And surely enough, I was humming this stupid song all the way till about noon. I had to go to the gym and listen to other music for about an hour before I got it out of my head. Your first thoughts are what shape your day. If you get up and the first place you go was every place especially on social media, you go to all this stuff that you don't like, that's how your day is going to feel. You're going to be angry about stuff. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be just hating everything. Because that's where you took your mind in the beginning. That's how you started your day. That's how the tone of your day was set. You have the power. You have the control. I mentioned earlier about chronic illness. A lot of people with chronic illnesses still do a lot. Chronic illness doesn't have to define you. That doesn't have to be your end all. That's not where you have to stay. It doesn't have to be who you are. But if you're already going through something, if you're already suffering with something, how do you think negativity is going to add to that? Excessive negativity. Again, excessive. Because anything bad can be considered as negativity, but there are healthy levels of it and unhealthy levels. If you're already going through something, how is staying and continuing to think or be around negativity, how is that going to bring you out of it? How is that going to help you? How is that going to improve your situation? Or at least your mindset, or at least your thinking, or at least the way you cope with what you're suffering with. I say again, this is not the same thing as trying to tell people, hey, when you're depressed, just get out there and stop thinking negative. That's not what I'm saying. Too many people say that already. Too many people think that depression is something that can be fixed by going out and getting fresh air. No, it's not. Clinical depression especially. You can't just go out and just fix it. You can't just go do stuff to fix it. Depression isn't just, I'm mad, I don't feel good right now. Depression is that place where you don't get why you feel that way. You don't understand why you feel the way you're feeling. That's what clinical depression is. Being sad and depressed aren't the same thing. I wish people understood that, but that's not what I'm saying now. I'm talking about those, that you're not clinically depressed. You know that's not what it is. It's just we like to flock to that negativity. We like to stay focused on it. We let it run our whole days. We let it exhaust us. And I'm not speaking from a mountaintop. I can be guilty of this at times as well. But if I jumped off a bridge, you don't have to come jump off a bridge with me just because I say this. Because a lot of the stuff I say in my episodes, I'm talking about myself as well. I'm talking about myself too. You go out there and people go and especially the I hate people folks. The people who talk about hating people. Well, why the hell are you in my space if you hate people? Get away from me. Get away from me if you hate people so much. Get away. Go find your own little space and go hate people there. That's why I still don't get that. That's an attention whore thing. I say attention whore because it gets me. Why are you on social media, especially talking about hating people? Who else is on social media? Cats and dogs aren't on there, so what do you expect? Someone does something you don't like and people make me say I hate people. Why? Because of what? Because somebody cut you off? Welcome to the world of damn driving. That's what happens. People act stupid in the supermarket. Okay. What do you expect? Everybody doesn't have home training. Yeah, I get frustrated too, but I'm not going to go on this whole I hate people tirade. No, it's just people are just sometimes real stupid acting. Not a reason to hate anybody. Not to mention how many times of people doing all this crazy stuff, how many times is somebody maybe absent-minded or did something by accident, didn't realize, they might not have realized they cut you off or bumped into you and didn't realize and was remorseful the minute they realized. Well, of course, our minds are never going to go there because when someone does something wrong, something that hurts you in some type of way, something that's wrong to you, our minds always go to the worst possible places. People were malicious. Oh, they meant to do this. And this is why I can't stand people right now. It's like, why? That so many times I would realize I did something wrong. And I'm like, oh my goodness, let me go. And I don't have a chance to go back to tell the person I'm sorry. Coming out of here, as a matter of fact, coming out my apartment complex. The people from the rental office, they have, a cart that they drive around in. And, she was coming down the road. And someone else ran a stop sign. And I wasn't going that fast, but they ran a stop sign. And the complex is pretty nice size. And they ran a stop sign. And I kind of swerved. I didn't swerve hard, but I turned toward the cart. And I slammed on the brakes. I wasn't going so fast. But again, just that turning made me do that. And when I came back from wherever I was, I wanted to go find her. And I said, I'm sorry. I really did not mean to do that. She said she understood because she knew that the guy ran the stop sign. But how many people would see that and look at me and say, oh, my goodness, what is his problem? And immediately their minds go to the most negative place because they saw me do that. This is what happens. So often we think the worst. How many of you, and I'll wrap up with this, but how many of you have people that you're close to? People in your lives, family members, friends, spouses, even spouses, in which you're thankful. You are thankful that no one has tried to frame you for something. Because the people there's certain individuals that you're close to would believe it. I'm going to ask that again. People you are close to. When it comes to people you're close to, how many of you are thankful that no one has ever tried to frame you for something because the people you are close to are more likely to believe them? And then you're the one on trial and you have to turn around and prove that you didn't do whatever the other person said. Sadly, quite a few of you could probably raise your hands because that's where we live. Nice, we question. Nice is creepy. Nice, we got to look out for. Nice, we got to worry about. Nice, we got to warn everybody. Nice is a lie. Nice is fake. Nice is bull. Nice is naive. But something mean, something negative, something wrong, we believe that quick. Very fast. It's sad. Your life doesn't get any better when you do that. As a man or a woman, the Bible doesn't say it like that, but I'm saying it this way. As a man or woman think, that's how they are. That's what they become. I don't have the quote exactly right, but y'all get the idea. If you constantly think and want to go to that negative place, that's what you're going to become. Negative. The truth is always in the middle. Truth is always in the middle. It's what you take with that truth that determines how your life goes. Because the thing about it is that the truth doesn't change. The truth never changes. Truth is truth. You can either take, I've seen people in the same exact situation have two different outlooks, which has then led to, in turn, two separate results. Don't let any type of disability or chronic illness or anything going on in your life cripple you. You can acknowledge it while also saying, you know what, I'm gonna beat this thing, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna live life. Don't stay in the negative place. Too many people are okay with that. Too many people want you to stay there. Don't let negativity run your life and control your life. Because no matter what you're doing now and how much validation you try to seek from other people who are negative as well, or because you think that somehow makes you more real than someone else, you will reach a point in your life where you're going to look back and you're going to wonder, what the hell happened? And you're going to say it wasn't worth it. And you're going to wish you spent more time being just a little more positive. It will happen. Might not happen tomorrow, the next day, but it will. Negativity is going to take so much energy from you that you're going to get to a point where you're going to wonder why in the hell you let that happen. Start working to change it right now. This is Robert People of RobertPeople.com. Thank y'all for listening. Have a great day.